Good afternoon and welcome to the fourth Meatless Monday where we're making some tangy fried rice. This is a super quick, easy and fun recipe that is very minimal ingredients, and honestly so much can be swapped in and out just to do with your pantry staples, and so much can also be added in if you have lots of ingredients that you need used. It's kind of like chuck it all in the pan kind of meal. As you log in, please just say hello, introduce yourself so that I can see who's cooking. As always, we will wait a couple of minutes just to get people on, so we'll probably start cooking at 5:35. If you have any questions, if you're just cooking or if you're watching, shout out. Happy to have you here. Cool, I can see some people popping on, so as always, say hello, introduce yourself so that I can see who's cooking. Otherwise it just tells me how many people are live. So right now there's 5 people live, however I can't see who that is or who you are. So introduce yourself, say hello, and we'll start cooking in a couple of minutes. Jotiga, thank you for popping along. Adam, awesome, so cool to see people coming back each week, and that's just in such a fun way to introduce some Meatless Monday meals into your life and start the journey rather than it being kind of hard and scary. So we'll wait a couple more minutes, we'll wait 2 more minutes, and then we'll get cooking. If you have any questions about the recipe, shoot them my way now, so that they're kind of answered before we start the cook along. Get your mushrooms and your mince ready. Sorry, your mushrooms ready, just in general. If you're using a food processor or a NutriBullet tonight, maybe start getting that ready. Whatever floats your boat. You can use a NutriBullet or a food processor. I'm just going to use the food processor because I've got stuff in my NutriBullet. I've had a day in the kitchen doing some final recipe testing for the summer menu, which is super exciting. I'm so excited for you guys to be able to eat this and enjoy the recipes that we've been cooking along, especially with our new menu rotation that we have. It's just going to be so good. Bought a blender specifically for this. I mean, I might say you bought a blender to add to your kitchen utensils because blenders are incredible, but thank you for your commitment, Adam. I am impressed. Rightio, 1 more minute and then we'll start cooking. Cara, thanks for joining in. This is gonna be fun. Fried rice. Who doesn't love a really simple fried rice, especially when it is such nice weather today in Wanaka. I don't know like how Christchurch or Palmerston North is, but it is beautiful weather here, so it just makes me really excited for all these like quick summer meals that you have to make when you get home at like 9 o'clock at night because you've been down at the lake or anything along those lines. So once again, just as there's been a couple more people pop on, introduce yourself, let me know if you're cooking or if you're watching or if you have any questions. We're so happy to have you here. We are gonna start cooking now. So basically, I'm using a wok today. Jotika, this is the wok that you brought me. I love my wok. If you don't have a wok, that's absolutely fine. You can just use because this wok's normally at my kitchen, but I went to the kitchen today specifically to get it because I really wanted to cook with it. So, but if I don't have my kitchen, I'm just using a normal fry pan. So do not stress if you don't have a wok, but it is just a little bit fun to cook with and a bit exciting. I can see some more people popping on, so say hello and introduce yourself once you pop on because I can't actually see who you are. Let me know if you're cooking. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the element. I'm going to use this one today. And I'm going to put a tiny bit of sesame oil in there, just a good drizzle. And I don't actually have a white onion at home, so I'm going to use a red onion. Like I was saying in the introduction, it's totally okay. This recipe is so good just to grab whatever ingredients you have and just chuck them in the pan. So basically cut your onion in half and start dicing it. You can be really particular about your dices if it's like really small or thin, but I think there's also something that's really fun about fried rice is that it doesn't have to be perfect. It is just a throw together in a pan. I love the smell of sesame oil. Oh my gosh. There's something about it that is just like, take me back to Thailand. Also remember, if you are composting, then do not put your onions peels into your compost because the worms will get really sad because you'll burn their skin. So make sure any onion peels or citrus ends up in the rubbish bin. Cool. So there's our onion diced up. I'm going to chuck that into the pan with a little sizzle and spread it out. The next thing that we're going to be doing is mincing our garlic. So I have just some New Zealand garlic here that's absolutely beautiful. I'm going to peel off the thing. So it calls for 3 cloves of garlic. If you're sensitive to garlic, use less. If you love garlic like us, then use more. It is entirely up to you. Like I say each week, these recipes are just guidance on how to get creative and fun in the kitchen. It's not like you must do this, you must do that. It's just about exploring new tastes and flavors and ideas. And especially this recipe. This recipe is so fun just to chuck any ingredients that you have in the fridge that might be going off into a pan. So can you guys see the chopping board? I'm just gonna do this. So for my garlic, I get my garlic clove and I'm just gonna crush it with my knife. Sometimes I have to go on my tippy toes to be able to break it down. And then you'll see that it breaks the garlic skin, so then the skin just peels off rather than you having to like use your knife to peel it all down. And like once again, so I'm going to say this about the garlic and the ginger. The recipe calls you to mince the garlic. However, if you love garlic, then you can just slice the garlic if you want to, or if you yeah, like it totally depends on what you want. You don't have to always be mincing everything. So we just slice the garlic. So basically I just hold the garlic on one little end and then I just run my knife forward and back, forward and back. Those onions are strong. And then I just spin it around and go the other way. Watch your fingers. If you're having little ones help you in the kitchen, it's normally not the best to let them mince the garlic. They can always help you peel the garlic. You can crush it, they can peel it, give it back to you, and then assist them like that. It's really good to include little ones in the kitchen, but always make sure that they're using safe utensils. If you want to get your kids into the kitchen, another way that you can get them to do it is using a pestle and mortar. Yes, it is another piece of equipment that you need to use, you need to buy, but I mean they can't injure themselves with that. So cool. If you're cooking, I see some more people popping on, so if you're cooking along, then just say hello, introduce yourself, because I can't see if you're cooking, and if you have any questions, please shout out. So there's my minced garlic, and I'm just going to add that to my wok. Then I'm going to get my wooden spoon, spatula, whatever you want to be using, and I'm just going to give it a good stir. And I'm going to turn my pan down because it's cooking quite fast. That's another beauty of this meal, is that it's a really fast and easy meal. Okay, so now what we're going to do is get your food processor, your NutriBullet, or even if you want to use one of these things, this would also really work well. I might actually use this. No, I'm just going to use this. Get your mushrooms. So it's about 6 to 8 mushrooms. If you are a person who loves like mince, then use more mushrooms. If you don't love mince so much, use less mushrooms. It's really easy. It's not something that has to be a big decision. So I will apologize. My food processor is tucked in the back behind my phone, so it's going to be really loud for just a second. But basically, put your mushrooms into your food processor and just pulse. I'll show you now. So as you can see, there's still some big mushrooms in there, but we get lots of little mushroom clumps, and this is going to be our mince. So what I'm going to do is put the lid back on and give it a shake and go again. Cool, and then ta-da, you have mushroom mince. A lot of people have asked if they can chop this, and honestly it just doesn't. I mean, you can, but I don't think people have the patience or the time to actually chop it finely enough so that it turns into mince consistency. I'm going to add this to the onion mixture, and then I'm going to repeat with the walnuts. So I have my mushrooms in there. And I'm going to let that brown off, and you'll find that your mushrooms will leach quite a bit of water. That's totally okay. So we're just going to work this until it reduces that water out. Cool, so I'm just going to put my food processor thing back in, and then half a cup of walnuts. So this is where you get your crunch from your mince. Cool. So I've got my half a cup here. Once again, if you love mince or crunchiness or the texture of it, just add a little bit more. So put that back on there. Sorry, once again, there's going to be a bit of noise. And you want that to be the same. Nice little crumbs. Cool. And honestly, the walnuts are the most expensive part of the recipe, and you could actually omit them if you really wanted to. They're just a really good source of fat, really good source of omegas. But I would do most of the bulking with the with the mushrooms, as that is a lot cheaper. But it's kind of like, you know how mince, you have that like quite gooey consistency, and then you have a little bit of crunch here and there. So that's the idea of it. Cool. So then we're just going to let that just cook off, and while that cooks off, we're going to slice our vegetables. So we've got our cabbage. I'm using a red cabbage just because, once again, that's what I've got in the fridge, and for all these recipes it's just about using what you've got. You don't have to go out and buy all these fancy ingredients when you're making a diet change or a lifestyle change. A lot of the ingredients people have in their fridge. When I first went vegan, a lot of people asked me, but what do you eat? And you'll actually be surprised, there's so much out there, and our fridge contents didn't actually change too much, apart from the fact that I was just buying more tofu than I normally would. So what I've done for the cabbage is I just place it upside down so you can see the stalk is here, and I'm just thinly slicing it. It's a quarter of a cabbage, so I'm probably just gonna do that much. And then to make it smaller and more manageable, I'm just gonna slice through here, because you want it to be kind of the same length or consistency as a grain of rice, because then that's how you're going to keep your consistency the whole way through. Cool. So we have that, and then we need, oh, I thought we needed a capsicum, but we didn't. You can add capsicum if you want to. Cool. Let's check our mince first. How is your guys' mince going? Is it getting a little bit gobulated? I don't even know if that's a very good word to describe it, but basically you'll be able to see that it's starting to kind of come together. There's a little bit of liquid here. And then I'm just going to spread mine out on the wok and let it dry out a little bit more. While that dries out, I'm going to get my peas from the freezer. Frozen peas are such an incredible hack to have. You should just have them on hand all the time. It's actually really interesting. They're classed as a vegetable. Like I remember my mum used to always say to us, don't forget your peas because they're a vegetable. However, like technically they're actually classed as a legume. They come from the legume family. So they are a vegetable, but also bok choy and leek here. Yeah, yum. Perfect. So that's the thing. You can add fried rice. You can add so many things. Like it's totally up to you. Oh, awesome. I'm actually going to get my phone out over here. Can you see how the liquid is coming out of it now? So that's what we want. So that liquid will slowly burn off. And we want to get rid of all of that liquid. It's kind of like if you're ever cooking mince and like the fat comes out of the mince. I'll just fix this. And then the fat comes out of the mince and you let that reduce. Otherwise you get a really watery sauce. Same idea here. So this is the benefit of using a wok as well. So you can spread it out all over the sides. Cool. Mine's pretty much reduced. Are you guys reduced or how are you doing? Do you need to reduce some more? We can wait maybe one more minute. Another thing, if people were wanting to add, say, more protein and bulk it out, then I actually have some crumbed tofu here from the other day, and well, not the other day, yesterday, from the kitchen, and like this is great to mix through as well. There's so many ways to bulk out this meal. Right, my water's reduced, so I'm going to add in the frozen peas and the cabbage. And this is another thing as well, like, in the end, we really only have cabbage, mushrooms, peas, and walnuts and onions. Like, you can totally add peas, corn, carrot, frozen peas, corn, and carrot. You can add in capsicum, leek and bok choy, whatever works for you. And when I add in the peas and the cabbage to this part, I kind of think that it looks like a dark scrambled omelette, and so that's where I got the idea for this, because omelettes normally go into fried rice, and so it's a good option. Never had any liquid. That's okay. Maybe you had some dry mushrooms. Then you're winning. Maybe, is your pan hot enough? Is it crisping up? Cool. And then get a spare bowl, because what we're going to do is we're going to transfer out the vegetables and we're going to put them in a side bowl. And then we're going to put in the rice and a bit more sesame oil and some ginger into the wok, and that's going to be able to brown up your rice as well. So it is kind of a two-part meal, but in the end it's one pan as well. Cool, mine's getting really crispy now. And once again, if you're in a hurry, you can make this meal in like a couple of minutes, but if you have time, then you can actually give it the time to adjust. In terms of seasonings, you can also add, like, Cajun's really good to add, or just straight up chili flakes is really good to add. Cool, I'm going to transfer this to my bowl. You can leave some stuff in there because it's all good stuff. Awesome, so add that there. I'm going to put in some more sesame oil. And then I have my rice here. There's 2 cups of rice. It is quite a lot of rice. And I'm just going to dump that into there. Get my wooden spoon. Are you supposed to keep mushies in fridge or cupboard? Fridge. I think fridge. It is meant to be like an ambient fridge. Like, think of if you get them from New World, they're in the open fridge, as most supermarkets. But definitely, I think you're meant to keep them in the fridge. So if you're like me and you just cooked your rice and put it straight and just left it in the rice cooker bowl and put it straight into the fridge, then your rice will be quite clumped together. So just get your wooden spoon and break it all up. And a paper bag in the fridge. Yeah, Jotika, you're right. I think that's how I store mine. Cool. I'm going to turn my heat down to a medium heat. Pour in a little bit more sesame oil. And just keep working it around. Once again, if you wanted to and you were in a super quick hurry, you could literally just put the rice in there and heat it back up. You wouldn't worry about ginger. We're doing that right now, Jatika. You wouldn't worry about like browning it off. So I went and got my hand grater from the kitchen because I wanted to be able to show you guys it. And these are all things that you can have in your own kitchen, or you can just have, or you don't have to have. There's always alternatives. It's just, I like to be able to show you guys the tools that are really handy and I love to have in my kitchen. Like the food processor, Adam. Okay, so your ginger, you'll see here that I'm cutting it. So you have 2 choices for your ginger. It's like the garlic. If you love ginger, you could just cut off a bit and turn it into little sticks. And that's if you love ginger, okay? If you love ginger, go wild and do that. However, ginger can be quite tangy. So if you're new to the ginger game, then what I recommend is getting your grater or your normal hand grater. And using the smaller one. I don't recommend mincing it like you mince your garlic. It doesn't work. It's quite a hard root vegetable and it doesn't work that way. So I'm just going to grate over a decent chunk. I think in the recipe it was 1 tablespoon of grated ginger. So and if you're like me, you can't have too much ginger. But if you're new to all these flavours, then that's okay. You don't have to have that much ginger. The beauty of you cooking your dinner is that you can choose. So you've got your ginger in there. Yum, it smells so good. Cool, and then that's in there. So then we go back in with our veggies. I think I had a bit more than a cup of rice, but that's okay. And then mix that all through. I think when I cooked my rice yesterday, I wasn't thinking, and we needed 2 cups of cooked rice. What about the spoon method for the ginger? Oh, you can totally use the spoon method for the ginger. I was just being lazy, to be honest, and just chopping it. But yes, you can definitely use the spoon method for the ginger, Adam. Yeah, I was doing a whoopsie yesterday, and I cooked 2 cups of raw rice rather than 1 cup of raw rice to get my 2 cups of cooked. But that's okay. It just means that my rice to veggie ratio is going to be out. I've just doubled the recipe. Luckily, fried rice is so good. Cool, and then once that's heated through, then all we've got to do is add our 1/4 cup of tamari. And that's it. This recipe is so easy. Like, how long have we been cooking for? It's not even 6 o'clock yet, and dinner is nearly on the table. Cool, so I'm just going to measure out my tamari. You can also use soy sauce if you like soy sauce. It's entirely up to you. I'm going to do double tamari because I have double rice. Silly me. And then I'm going to give it a really good stir through. And you have to kind of work the tamari through. You're going to think, there's not enough tamari, Olivia. There's not enough tamari. But you just got to work it, and soon enough, your rice will all be coloured darker. Now, this is where you can get a little bit crazy with your flavours. You can add your chili spices. You can add some lemon juice. You can add some more sesame oil. This is where you can kind of take the recipe into your own. It's a very base recipe for everybody to try. Look at that. So easy. My arm's getting tired from moving all that rice around. So, then I'm just going to let that cook for a little bit. I'm going to get my bowl. Wow, I've made a mess. It wouldn't be an Olivia cookie. And also, is there much difference between tamari and soy sauce? So, tamari is a low sodium gluten-free option. So, essentially, it's more pure soy sauce, if that makes sense. Whereas soy sauce is a lot more processed. So you can kind of, you can choose how you use it. Like, for cost wise, soy sauce is way cheaper. In terms of taste, I do think that it is like less salty tamari. But it's all choice. It's all choice. And if you have allergens and things like that. Okay, so to spice this recipe up, to make it look a little bit prettier, if you're going to be serving it to people, I'm going to use this one. I have made a mess. Luckily, I was using the wok because it wouldn't have all fit in my pan. I'm going to sprinkle some spring onions on top. And I just dice them. Honestly, you don't have to do anything. You could do long serrated cuts with them if you really wanted to. I'm going to sprinkle on some chili flakes, and then I'm going to sprinkle on some sesame seeds. And that is it, folks. The most basic, simple fried rice you could ever have that tastes delicious, has really good texture. It is basic, but we recommend it as just a base recipe, and you can add on whatever you want to it. If you wanted to make it even kind of fancier, what you can do is leave out like 1/4 of your walnut mince and walnut mince and mushroom mix with your cabbage and your peas, and you can kind of put that on top, and then that kind of makes it look a little bit more fancy as well. But in the end, we're just here to create a really delicious Meatless Monday recipe that is just quick and easy. Yum. You can work it how you want to work it. If you wanted it to be a bit more fancy, make it a little bit more fancy. If kids need to be fed in 5 minutes, you have rice in the fridge, make it in 5 minutes. Lemon. Another way to be able to tang it up, just a little bit of lemon. So good. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. I really hope you enjoyed that. Thank you so much to everybody who joined in. Yeah. The lemon completes it. If you have lemon at home, chuck some lemon in there. Right. Before I eat all my dinner on live Facebook, thank you so much for joining in. Next week, we are making a Mexican salad burrito bowl. Really, once again, another plant-based meal that is really quick. It's made with the staple pantry items that you have in your cupboard. Really fun, delicious, completely different flavors to this week. And just another way to get you really excited in the kitchen. If you are looking at ordering meals this week, it's the week 2 menu. However, like last week, we're going to be changing it up and introducing a new meal again, which is really exciting. So watch this space. The meal will be released on Wednesday, and order cutoff is Friday at 11 a.m. We really hope to see you soon. If you have any questions about next week, then let me know, or post your photos in the Balance Me community support page. Thanks. Have a good week.